Westminster Abbey, 1603. They're sealing the coffin. Not wood. Lead. Thick, heavy lead that will never rust, never crack, never let anyone see what's inside. The embalmers work in silence. They've been paid more for this one job than most people earn in a lifetime, and they've been told clearly, finish the work, take the money, and leave London. Tonight. One of them freezes. He glances back at the sealed coffin. His hands still shake from what he saw when they removed her clothes. The other embalmer grabs his arm and pulls him toward the door. You saw nothing, he whispers. We saw nothing. Do you understand? They leave. The coffin is carried to the abbey before dawn, and a secret is buried that will remain hidden for over 400 years. What did they see? What was so dangerous that it needed this much secrecy? Let me show you what really happened to Elizabeth Tudor, and why they've been hiding it ever since. Richmond Palace smelled of death long before Elizabeth died. Not the clean smell of sickness, not herbs or medicines, but something worse. Rot, deep decaying smell that nothing could cover. Servants worked day and night with lavender water and incense, but it did nothing. The smell clung to the walls, soaked into the tapestries, and followed anyone who visited. Inside her chambers, Elizabeth Tudor had become almost like a ghost. Her skin was white as bone, not from age, but from something else. Her voice, once strong enough to silence Parliament, now cracked under the weight of thick white paste on her face. Venetian ceruse, a mixture of white lead and vinegar, was applied every morning to hide what lay beneath. But we're not ready to see that yet. First, we need to know how she got here. Elizabeth's death was not sudden. It was the result of a lifetime surviving things that should have killed her many times over. Elizabeth came into the world under a hidden death sentence. September 7th, 1533. Henry VIII's second daughter is born. Not a son, just a girl. Another useless girl. The room fell silent. Faces showed disappointment. The king, furious that the world had failed him yet again, was silent but seething. Midwives whispered prayers. Nurses tried to comfort the child. But the truth was clear. A girl in Tudor England was always at risk. Elizabeth was 2 years old when her mother, Anne Boleyn, was executed. 2 years old when the cheering outside the Tower of London told her that power for women was dangerous. 2 years old when she learned her first lesson. In Tudor England, being a woman could be a death sentence unless you played the game perfectly. She watched the women around her father carefully. She studied their survival strategies like maps of a battlefield. Anne of Cleves survived by surrendering, accepting humiliation, and fading into the background. Catherine Howard was executed for alleged adultery, whether true or false. Catherine Parr survived only by being invisible, obedient to the point that Henry barely noticed her. Elizabeth learned early, adapt or die. Be whoever they need you to be, never show weakness, never show who you really are. At 20, Elizabeth almost died. Her sister Mary, Bloody Mary, was queen. Catholic Mary saw Elizabeth, a Protestant, as a threat. When rebellion broke out, Mary's agents arrested Elizabeth and brought her to the Tower of London, the same tower where her mother died. The same cold stone floors, the same executioner's block stained with blood. The walls were damp, torches flickered in the darkness. The sound of chains and footsteps echoed endlessly. Elizabeth was questioned for weeks, accused of treason, plots, and secret conversations she may or may not have had. One wrong answer could have ended her life. One slip, and her head would have rolled, just like her mother's. She survived by becoming a different person each day. Obedient but confused, loyal but forgetful, sick when they pushed too hard, never faking but never weak enough to seem vulnerable. A perfect actress, a flawless liar. She knew her survival depended on never showing her true self. But living like that, always calculating words, gestures, every breath, destroys a person inside. When Elizabeth finally became queen at 25, she smiled through the fear. She danced at her coronation. She charmed ambassadors. She dazzled her court with jewels, laughter, and the promise of a golden age. But the pressure started immediately. Advisors, nobles, and foreign powers all said the same thing. Marry, secure your throne. It's what queens do. It's what women are for. Kings, princes, and nobles came from across Europe, offering gifts, promises, and power. Elizabeth entertained them all, flirted with them, led them on for years, and married none of them. Maybe she couldn't. Maybe she didn't want to. Rumors spread through Europe, secret whispers in foreign courts. Elizabeth was not like other women. She was tall for her time, over 5'10", strong, commanding, and with a deep voice. Some ambassadors wrote that she seemed more like a king than a queen. And then there was her illness. In 1562, Elizabeth caught smallpox and almost died. She lay unconscious for days while doctors treated her. What they found was never recorded. After she recovered, the pressure to marry eased. Some advisors stopped pushing. Some suitors quietly withdrew. What did the doctors see? What did they tell her counselors? We may never know. Her tomb has never been opened. Not like Richard III's, not even when technology could reveal secrets. Westminster Abbey guards Elizabeth's body like a state secret. What are they protecting? Elizabeth knew one thing perfectly. Her power was in her image, and that image demanded sacrifice. Every morning, her ladies prepared the mask of youth. The lead paste covered her face and neck, hiding wrinkles and age. It was poison, lead soaked into her blood. Over decades, it caused headaches, hand tremors, confusion, mood swings, hair loss, and even madness. But she couldn't stop. Her beauty was her power, agelessness her right. Elizabeth could not show weakness, so every morning she painted death onto her face and smiled. And then there was the corset. Not a pretty costume, but a torture device. Wood, steel, and whalebone laced tight to crush her ribs, push her organs into wrong positions, and leave grooves in her flesh. She couldn't breathe deeply, couldn't bend, couldn't eat a full meal. Hours of wearing it left her dizzy, vision blurred, and her heart racing. Doctors begged her to loosen it. She refused. A queen's waist had to be impossibly thin. Weakness could not show. For 45 years, she wore this cage every day. Her body screamed, but she smiled, and still she ruled. When Mary, Queen of Scots, plotted against her, Elizabeth hesitated before signing the death warrant. Mary was family, a fellow queen, a woman. But survival won. Mary's head fell. Elizabeth wept, but England was safe. When the Spanish Armada sailed, 130 ships, 30,000 men, Elizabeth rode out to meet her troops at Tilbury. Picture it, a woman in her 50s, silver breastplate over her dress, on a white horse in front of thousands of soldiers. She spoke, "I know I have the body of a weak, feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too." The soldiers cheered. They would die for her. Some did. England won. Spain's power broken. Elizabeth became Gloriana, the Virgin Queen, the eternal queen who could not be defeated. But after the crowds left, Elizabeth collapsed in her chambers. Bleeding, shaking, vomiting from stress, lead poisoning, and the crushing corset. Her ladies found bruises across her torso, ribs deformed by decades of pressure. The legend was safe. That was all that mattered. By the 1590s, Elizabeth's world was fading. Robert Dudley, the only man she truly loved, had died. She kept his letters in a locked box, reading them alone, tears cutting through white makeup. Her court grew older. The young courtiers of her youth were dead. The new generation whispered that she was past her time. Then came Essex. Robert Devereux, young, bold, handsome. She loved him, gave him power, forgave him repeatedly, until he rebelled. Elizabeth signed his death warrant, tears washing away the white lead, revealing sagging grey skin. Something inside her broke. By 1603, Elizabeth Tudor was a living corpse. Her teeth were gone, her hair had fallen out in patches, wigs grew heavier and more uncomfortable. Her face told the real story. Under the lead paste, her skin was ulcerated, her belly swollen, likely from organ failure caused by decades of poison. She couldn't eat, she could barely drink. In March, she refused to lie down. For days, she sat upright, staring at shadows. Her ladies whispered she spoke to ghosts. Her mother, Anne Boleyn, Mary, Dudley, Essex. Modern doctors would call it delirium, but those watching thought it was something else entirely. She was already dead, but too stubborn to lie down. On March 24, 1603, Elizabeth stopped. Eyes empty, breath gone. After 69 years of survival, she was gone. The real work began. A few handled her body in secret. Lead coffin, buried before spring heat could expose the secrets inside. Official cause, natural, but whispers said otherwise. Notes disappeared. Embalmers left London with large sums of money. What did they see when they removed her clothes, corset, mask? We may never know. Unlike other Tudor monarchs, her tomb has never been opened. Elizabeth I was queen, survivor, legend, but also a woman who destroyed herself for power. Poison on her face, cage around her ribs, a body bent to duty and illusion, all titles, all masks, 45 years of performance. Beneath the lead, beneath the jewels, beneath the legend, the secret remains. 4 centuries buried, hidden beneath lead, guarded by silence and history itself. The dead keep secrets better than the living. Elizabeth Tudor proved it, forever. If you don't want to miss out on any secrets, subscribe to our channel and leave a like.